Sports are all about rivalries. Like you and I when we're on the golf course, Ardsma, we love to see competition. But sometimes those competitions, they get really intense to the point where there's some fisticuffs. I'm James the Greek.
And I'm the DA.
And this is Man Cave Sports Top 5 Rivalries. This week I gave you a little bit of homework and I asked you to come up with what you believe are the top 5 rivalries in all of sports all time.
Well, let's start out with a caveat. This isn't team rivalries, okay? This is individual rivalries. So this is like a one-on-one matchup. This is individual. This isn't, Yankees, Red Sox, or, Celtics and Lakers type of stuff. This is just an individual rivalry. Those were the dynamics. That's what you told me. That's what I came up with.
Okay, so who's your number 5?
My number 5 best rivalry of all time, I'm going to go with boxing. Sugar Ray Leonard versus Roberto Duran.
Ooh, Roberto Duran. Why did you pick this as number 5?
It was a little before my time, so it was during the 80s. My dad told me about this back in the day. I remember watching some videos about it. Absolutely great rivalry. They came into the rivalry. Sugar Ray was 27-0. Roberto Duran was 71-1, or something like that, 71-0. Going into this first match, the first match goes the whole way, 15 rounds. Duran wins the first match by scorecard. Incredible fight. Fight number 2. They come back, 8th round. Roberto Duran quits. Just was fed up because Sugar Ray Leonard changed how he fought. Changed his boxing style. He used to be the Sugar, kind of go in and make a big show out of everything. And then he flat-footed, made Duran chase him basically the whole game, the whole match, everything. 8 rounds, no mas, and just walks out of the ring. And then match number 3, Sugar Ray Leonard kind of finished it off. At that point, they were both on their downswing, both ended their careers. At that point, 35-1 for Sugar Ray and 85-7 for Duran. So they both had at that point been knocked around. It was the end of their careers. But incredible rivalry, incredible different styles, different cultures, and it was a huge match, huge battle for the time.
All right, DA, who do you got for number 4?
Number 4, we're going to basketball, Bird versus Magic.
Oh, one of the greatest rivalries of all time. These guys hated each other. Going back to college, national championship, they competed there. They competed over MVPs in the NBA. They competed over championships. Hell, they even competed over who had the best colorway of their sneakers, the weapon. Why did you choose them as number 4?
Incredible rivalry, head-to-head, across country, across cultures. It was absolutely incredible what they did for the NBA, what they did to bring life. They had a huge rivalry on the court. Off the court, they became very close. As the rivalry developed, they became closer and closer and closer, with Larry Bird's mom even bringing Magic over for dinner one night, doing commercials together. I remember the famous McDonald's commercials, and it was so fun to watch that rivalry develop. And every single championship, NBA championship during the 1980s, either involved the Lakers or the Celtics. It was just a nonstop matchup of these two juggernauts, the trash talking back and forth, the beauty of the Lake show, and then the Boston Celtics. So fun to watch, and these two constantly going head to head, with Magic getting 5 rings, Bird getting 3. So you kind of got to give it to Magic being the champion of the rivalry. Both careers ended early for different reasons. Great rivalry.
And what's great about that rivalry, once they became friends, they never tried to play on the same team, a la LeBron and every other wuss in the NBA right now who needs a super team. They said, no, I'm going to beat you straight up. That's a great one, Ards. Who do you have for number 3, pal?
I'm going to stay in the basketball world. I'm going to stay right around that same timeline too. Maybe kind of like they flashed together, but then ended up, these two kind of took off. This is Isaiah Thomas and MJ, Michael Jordan.
One of the most intense rivalries of all time. Michael Jordan got so beat up against the Pistons when they would play in the playoffs that he literally had to change the way he trained. He put on muscle so that he can compete against that Pistons team so they wouldn't beat the hell out of him every time he went to the rim.
The bad boy Pistons, man, they beat him up. They went in there. They went in whenever he was going to go to that rim. He came in hard. They put him on the ground. This is a different NBA than we know now. They'd come in with fists, with elbows, with knees. They did not care, and the refs didn't care either. That was their style. That's how they played basketball, and that's why they made them so good. They just kept going after each other. Now, this all started in 1985 when Michael Jordan made his first All-Star team, and they called it the freeze-out game, where Isaiah Thomas, the point guard, kind of refused to pass the ball to Michael. Whether this is true or not, either way, he scored 7 points in the All-Star game, which was even lower than 3 players on the bench of the visiting team, of the other team. The rivalry obviously continued with the Bulls and the Pistons, but really, MJ and Isaiah took this to another level, and a lot more of it had to do with MJ being so angry, so mad about that was their hump. That was the Pistons was a team they had to beat, and Isaiah was a team player he had to beat. Isaiah's from Chicago. He was the Chicago boy. Now Jordan's kind of taking that reputation over and then had to beat him on and off the court. MJ absolutely did that and never stopped either. When it came to the Olympics, didn't pick Isaiah Thomas. And then when it came time to even later on in his career, and now even past, he still has words. He still has fighting words to Isaiah. And you can tell it has been very personal for MJ for a long time.
Let's just back it up for 1 second. It's not that Michael Jordan didn't pick Isaiah for the Olympic Dream Team. What he did was he told the guys who were in charge of picking the team that if you want me, no problem, I'd love to play. But if you put Isaiah Thomas on that team, I am not playing. It is so bad that even recently, Isaiah Thomas said that Michael Jordan would have to give him a public apology on national television if they ever want to squash the beef. And I don't think there's any chance in hell that that's ever going to happen.
That's never happening. This is a great rivalry. It's awesome. And honest to God, I think a lot of this has to do with MJ, with Michael, making it all up. Making all this up. The one thing that Michael Jordan did better than anybody else was tell himself somebody was against him, the world was against him, and get angry about it and then take himself to another level. I'm pretty sure he made a lot of this up.
David, let's move on to number 2.
Number 2, we're going to ice skating. Tonya Harding versus Nancy Kerrigan and her knee.
The story that had everybody's attention for a little while on ice skating. You heard me. People actually cared about Olympic ice skating because of this story.
And cared a lot more than just during the Olympics. So this is 7 weeks before the 1994 Olympics. Tonya Harding came up with a plan with her husband. They hired basically a hitman 2 days before the U.S. Olympic figure skating championship. So this is basically the competition to figure out who officially represents the U.S. in the Olympics. You got to win this, you got to place, and then they pick the team. So Nancy Kerrigan's coming off the ice on a practice run in Detroit, Michigan, and gets hit right in the knee with a metal baton, messes her whole knee up, can't compete. You see her very famously on camera saying, "Why?" and crying as the hitman runs out of the building, breaks through a window, jumps in the car of Tonya Harding's husband, and they take off. The FBI gets involved. They end up figuring out who it was. Tonya gets suspended, misses the Olympics. Nancy Kerrigan goes on and wins silver. Amazingly, 7 weeks after you get your knee beat in figure skating, where you need your knees pretty dang much, ends up winning silver. And still, there was a little competition there. She probably should have won gold. Had an amazing run, but Tonya Harding taking out her opponent. How about that?
You know, when you were telling that story, all I was thinking about was Jackie Chan. I would love to see a reenactment where Jackie Chan takes out Nancy Kerrigan's knee, jumps out the window, does some crazy stuff, and falls into the husband's car.
That'd be so funny. This whole story is so amazing, so wild, that this would actually be real, that somebody would think they can get away with it. That you actually think you can get away with it. Now, and that's the thing too, Tonya Harding was probably going to make the team anyways. She was going to represent the U.S. She was the number 2 skater in the U.S. behind Nancy. So you're going to make the team. You're going to go to the Olympics. And you just end up ruining your chances, and then everyone else goes to jail.
Well, you can get away with it. You remember when Brandon Lee got that contract with the Seattle Mariners that you would have gotten if you were the closer at the time?
With the Dodgers. I don't remember that at all.
Well, I'm just saying, you remember when that guy in the black ski mask came out with a baseball bat and hit you on the elbow and caused you to get Tommy John?
Right. Yes.
Brandon League paid me well for that. David, who do you have for your number one?
Well, before we go to number one, I want to hit a couple of the honorable mentions first because there's some great rivalries. There's some great individual stuff out there. Some of the ones that didn't quite make the list. I have Shaq versus Kobe. I think that's a wonderful one. A great story of it being teammates and winning championships and then ended up breaking apart and kind of having a not so fun fallout, and both having success after that too. Pedro versus his daddy, the New York Yankees. So that's always a fun one in baseball. And one of the great one, Bryce DeChambeau versus Brooks Koepka. I thought that was a wonderful rivalry. Gave a revitalization to golf. People started watching golf and caring about golf again right after these two started going at it, started making it personal in a game that's so impersonable, that's so classy. You do it the old way. These two just didn't care, and it was wonderful to see them start talking crap about each other. Both having success, being some of the best golfers in the world, and just hating each other and openly. That's in a sport where you never see emotions. You start seeing a lot of fun emotions out of those guys. Any good ones for you that didn't make this list?
Absolutely. How about the Indiana Pacers against 20,000 fans in Detroit? The Malice at the Palace.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Well, I don't want to. Okay. Before we go to more, I just thought about that. Before we go anymore, you don't even know my number one. So I don't want to. You'll probably mention my number one. I didn't want you to say it.
Okay. So who do you have for number one?
All right. Number one, this guy be the greatest rivalry of all time: Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier.
Okay, that's a very good one. Why is it your number one of all time?
Well, they went into the first match. Muhammad Ali was 31-0. Frazier was 26-0. Absolutely two different personalities, two different ideas at the time and during the war, during Vietnam War. The culture of the United States was absolutely torn apart. And these two guys kind of represented different parts of this battle in the U.S. Ali goes out and loses the very first match to Frazier. An incredible fight, incredible bout. They end up having two more fights after that. The thrower in Manila, and Ali ends up winning, and at the same time kind of getting the world to rally around him. That was also after he ended up having the fight against George Foreman. And so you end up seeing such a different viewpoint of Muhammad Ali after some of these battles, after the Joe Frazier fights, after the George Foreman fight, where people started kind of rallying behind him, and he started becoming this guy who everybody loved. After that, then culturally just became incredible, significant in the U.S. after these fights. But these were just knocked down, cold blood, this fighting, two guys absolutely hating each other. One of my favorite pictures ever was Muhammad Ali when he showed up at Joe Frazier's training facility and got the picture behind the glass where he's got his eyes all crazy and he's looking at him. God, I love these fights.
Everybody loves Muhammad Ali, but ever since Joe Frazier gave Homer Simpson the Montgomery Burns Award for outstanding achievement in the field of excellence, he has been my guy. And then he knocked out Bernie Gumbel. So there you go.
There you go. That's Joe Frazier for you. Just a great guy.
You cleaned me out, Smoking Joe.
All right, so are there any others, now that you know my top five, any others that didn't make the list?
Pedro Martinez against Don Zimmer, who was the old man, the bench coach for the New York Yankees back in the day. He grabbed him from behind his bald head and threw him on the ground. That was a good one. But my favorite, my all-time rivalry in all of baseball, Mike Piazza versus Roger Clemens. When Clemens threw a broken bat at Mike Piazza because he was roid raging in the 2000 World Series. Damn you, Roger Clemens.
Whoa. Hey, air quote that. Air quote, roid rage. We don't know, James. No, that was amazing. That was so fun to watch. That was incredible to see him, the bat come at him, and for no reason, Roger just starts throwing it at him and tries to say he threw it to the dugout. He threw that thing straight at Piazza. He thought it was the ball, is what he said. That was the ball. And then he throws it at... None of this makes sense, Roger. But I do love it because it was such a fun rivalry. That Subway series was incredible. It was great to begin with, and then that moment just put the little icing on the cake.
If you've got a rivalry that we missed and you want to tell us about it, make sure you go into the comments, leave us a little bit of a spiel, and we'll get back to you on it.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you click the like button. More likes equals more great content for you. And if you haven't, subscribe now